Diksha Online. So in today's class, we'll discuss lecture 6 of wave optics. So in this class, we learn the concept of polarization of light. So first thing, what is polarization of light? So light is a three-dimensional wave. So if you consider a light beam, a beam of light, then if you imagine the light beam coming towards you, so this is how you see the light beam. Then if you consider the electromagnetic nature of light, the electric field vectors will be vibrating perpendicular to the direction of propagation. Direction of propagation is towards you, and electric field vectors are vibrating perpendicular to direction of propagation in all possible directions. So if a light beam is coming towards you, the electric field vectors get distributed in all possible directions, all random directions it is possible. So they exist in all directions. So there is symmetric distribution of electric field vectors. There is symmetric distribution of electric field vectors around the direction of propagation. Now, by some means, it is possible to remove this symmetry, to break this symmetry and bring asymmetry. By some means, we will be able to break this symmetry and bring some asymmetry in the distribution of electric field vectors around the direction of propagation. See, not only electric field vectors, magnetic field vectors will also be present, but here one thing is common for all electromagnetic waves. Electric field and magnetic field vectors are perpendicular to each other. So for every electric field in particular direction, perpendicular to that there will be magnetic field. So because of that, the direction of magnetic field will be obvious. So it will be perpendicular to electric field. And here, out of electric field and magnetic field, we consider electric field only as more important, because all interaction of light with matter is decided by this electric field. In all interaction of light, it is electric field that is responsible. Whenever light interacts with matter, for all the phenomena involved there, electric field is involved. That's why electric field is called light vector. So when you bring in asymmetry, when you remove the symmetric distribution, the process of removal of symmetric distribution of electric field vectors around the direction of propagation is called polarization. And this kind of a light where there is symmetric distribution, we call it as unpolarized light. And once you bring in asymmetry, it is called polarized light. So polarization is a phenomena in which vibrations of light are made to occur in one particular plane. That means you remove the symmetric distribution. Suppose if it is restricted to only one plane, electric field vibrates only in one plane, then such a wave we call it as plane polarized light. So vibrations occur only in one plane, in plane polarized light. Plane polarized light is also called as linearly polarized light. So polarization is a phenomena which is specific to only transverse waves. Longitudinal waves cannot be polarized, only transverse waves can be polarized. The phenomena of polarization exhibited by light gives us information that light is a transverse wave. And to understand polarization, you have to take into the account of electromagnetic nature of light. Yes, this diagram gives you the clear picture, the three-dimensional picture of the light vector distribution around the direction of propagation. Light is propagating along this direction. This is the direction of propagation. These are electric field vectors, there is symmetric distribution of electric field vectors around the direction of propagation. So this kind of light we call it as unpolarized light. Now by some means you restrict these electric field vectors to vibrate only along one particular line, that means one particular direction. So when you restrict it, what we get is polarized light. If it is restricted to a plane, it is called plane polarized light. Notice one thing, both any electric field vector you consider in this diagram, all of them will have equal magnitude. So this is how we can understand the phenomena of polarization. Now coming to representation of polarized light and unpolarized light. So in case of unpolarized light, the light vector distribution is asymmetric. So electric field vector oscillates in all possible directions. So in order to represent that, we make use of this kind of representation. So here this arrow represents the direction of propagation. So there are vibrations perpendicular to the plane of board and there are vibrations in the plane of board. So these arrows represent arrows perpendicular to direction of propagation. They represent in the plane of board, and these dots represent perpendicular to plane of board. So if both dots and arrows are present, then it is unpolarized light. So when you get plane polarized light, either only dots are present as in this diagram or only arrows are present. If both are present, it is unpolarized light. If at some points there are dots, at some points there are arrows, or some dots are missing in this representation, if it is like this, so only one dot is there, two dots are missing, so then this represents partially polarized light. So this is the representation of polarized and unpolarized light. Now moving on to the next concept, that is polaroids and pass axis of a polaroid. So a polaroid consists of long chain molecules aligned in a particular direction. So they are used to produce plane polarized light. So they convert unpolarized light into plane polarized light. When unpolarized light is incidented on it, then it gets converted to plane polarized light. That is why they are used for. So electric vectors along the direction of the molecule alignment, of molecules, they get absorbed. Only electric field vectors which are perpendicular to it, they are transmitted. So electric field vectors perpendicular to the direction of alignment of molecules, they remain unaffected. Hence, when unpolarized light is passed through the polaroid, we get linearly polarized light with electric field vector oscillating along the direction perpendicular to the direction of alignment of molecules. So this direction means the direction perpendicular to alignment of molecules. That is what we call it as pass axis or transmission axis of the polaroid. Pass axis or transmission axis of the polaroid. Notice one thing, it is not the direction of alignment of molecules, it is a direction perpendicular to the alignment of molecules. And remember, it's not a line. Pass axis of a polaroid is not a line, it is just a direction. It's a direction, so it is not a line. Any line parallel to it will also be considered as pass axis. So when you consider polarides. So these lines represent path axis. So this is one polaride, this is another polaride. So if you keep one polaride over the other, then the combination put together in this region, in the overlapping region, this allows the passage of light when these two path axes are parallel. When the path axes of two polarides are parallel, then they allow the passage of light through them. Then we say the polarides are matched polarides. When they are matched, there will be 100% transmission. So there will be 100% transmission. So they allow the passage of light to them. When the path axis of one polaride and the other, they are perpendicular to each other. So this is the overlapping region. In the overlapping region, there will be no light. There will be no light in the overlapping region. So they don't allow any light to pass through. This kind of polarides, when they are perpendicular to each other, their path axes are perpendicular to each other, we call them as crossed polarides. So then there is no transmission of light. There is no transmission of light. So coming to uses of these polarides. So polarides are used as sunglasses. All cooling glasses make use of polarides. They are used to minimize glare from automobile headlights. So in order to minimize glare, the headlights are covered with polarides. Then they are used to eliminate the glare in the reflected light of cameras and also in microscope objectives. Now they are used as sun films, the cooling paper in window panes of aeroplanes, or earlier it was there for other vehicles also. So sun films, they are polarides. Polaroid glasses are used to view 3D pictures and movies, and they are used to improve color contrast while observing the old oil paintings. So these are some of the uses of polarides. Polarides are used in LCD screen also. LCD screen is a polaride. There will be two polaride sheets which are crossed. In between, liquid crystal will be kept. So these are the uses of polarides. Now coming to next concept, that is Malus law. So now let us say there is unpolarized light. There is one polaride here and there is another polaride here. When unpolarized light is passed through the polaride, so these arrows here represent the direction of path axis or transmission axis. Then only the vibrations which are parallel to transmission axis, they are allowed to pass through. So what we get is polarized light. Now Malus law gives you what will be the intensity of this with respect to this. Suppose if I0 is the intensity of incident light, then what we get, if unpolarized light of intensity I0 is incident on a polaride, then what comes out will be I0 by 2. So transmitted light which is plane polarized will have an intensity I0 by 2. This is one part of Malus law. When unpolarized light of intensity I0 is passed through a polaride, the transmitted light which is plane polarized will have intensity I0 by 2. Now if we consider these two polarides P1 and P2, their path axis make an angle theta. They are not parallel to each other, they make an angle theta. And if I0 is the intensity of polarized light, now forget this one, forget the first one. So let us say on the second one, I0 is the intensity of light falling. So the plane of polarization of this makes an angle theta with the path axis of P2. That means to produce this polarized light, we have one more polaride. this axis and this axis, axis of P1, axis of P2, they are inclined at an angle theta. Then if this intensity is I naught, then output intensity will be I naught cos square theta. So output intensity will be I naught cos square theta. This will be your output intensity. So when it is unpolarized light, intensity will be I naught by 2. When it is polarized light of intensity I naught, then outgoing intensity will be I naught cos square theta. So this is your Malus law. When a beam of polarized light is incident on an analyzer, the intensity of light transmitted from the analyzer varies directly as square of the cosine of the angle between planes of analyzer and polarizer. So here this is called analyzer, this is called polarizer. Now keeping this polarizer as it is, if you rotate the plane of analyzer about the direction of incident light, then the intensity varies according to this. When the two polarites are matched, theta will be equal to 0, cos theta will be 1, so intensity will be I naught. So all the light that is transmitted by P1 will be transmitted to P2 also. If theta is equal to 90 degree, then they are crossed. So you'll get I is equal to 0, cos 90 is 0. Similarly, if theta is equal to 180, then also you'll get I is equal to I naught. When theta is equal to 270, then also you'll get I is equal to 0. That means when you rotate the analyzer about the direction of incident light, then the light intensity becomes maximum twice and minimum twice. So in one rotation, twice it becomes maximum, that is when theta is equal to 0 and 180 degree, and twice it becomes minimum, that is when theta is equal to 90 degree and 270 degree. So this is how, using this polaroid, you can analyze the polarized light. Now coming to the methods of producing the polarized light. So one of the easiest method is polarization by reflection. So if the reflected light is observed through an analyzer like a polaroid, and if it is slowly rotated, the intensity varies but generally it does not become 0. So intensity varies but not become 0 means there are two possibilities. One is it is elliptically polarized, or it must be partially polarized. Anyways, elliptical polarization is not there in your syllabus, so we'll assume it to be plane polarized only, but it is not completely polarized, it is partially polarized. When it is partially polarized, then when you rotate the analyzer about the reflected ray, then there will be variation in intensity, but it will not become 0. Now if you vary the angle of incidence, then at one particular angle of incidence, the reflected light will be completely plane polarized. So this was studied by a person named Brewster. So this led to some conclusions. So the first conclusion is, at a particular angle of incidence called polarizing angle, the reflected light is completely polarized. So reflected light is almost completely polarized. Then at the polarizing angle of incidence, reflected ray and refracted ray are perpendicular to each other. Then the tangent of polarizing angle will be equal to refractive index of the medium on which the unpolarized light is incident. So this result is termed as Brewster's law. So there are three conclusions from the Brewster's experiments. One is, at a particular angle of incidence called polarizing angle, the reflected light is completely plane polarized. Then tangent of polarizing angle gives you refractive index of the medium on which the unpolarized light is incidented, and at polarizing angle of incidence, reflected and refracted rays are perpendicular to each other. So these three are the conclusions. Now we have to derive Brewster's law. So there is a small derivation for Brewster's law, or what we call it as proof. So now the condition is like this: incident ray is unpolarized, so refracted ray will be partially polarized, but reflected ray should be completely plane polarized. So this is what is the condition. Now they have given this angle should be 90 degree. At polarizing angle of incidence, reflected light and refracted light, they are perpendicular to each other. Now let us call this angle of incidence as theta p, polarizing angle. Then this is also theta p. Angle of incidence should be equal to angle of reflection. Let this be r, angle of refraction. Now from the diagram, theta p plus r plus 90, that is equal to 180. So this angle plus this angle, it's a straight line. So r is equal to, or theta p plus r is equal to 90. So r is equal to 90 minus theta p, where theta p is angle of incidence, that is polarizing angle. Now refractive index of this medium, let it be n2, this medium is n1. Now from Snell's law, n21 should be equal to sin I by sin r. So here I is equal to what? Theta p. R is equal to 90 minus theta p. So substitute that sin theta p divided by sin of 90 minus theta p. So we know that sin of 90 minus theta is cos theta. So that will give you tan of theta p. So refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium will be equal to tangent of the polarizing angle. So this result is called Brewster's. So this result is called Brewster's law. This derivation can be asked for 3 marks. We'll move on to next concept. So this is polarized sunglasses. So in this region they're not completely crossed, here it is completely crossed. So this is the region where they are completely crossed, so you'll have complete darkness here. So when you cross the polarites, then this is the thing going to happen. You'll not be able to see through that. The photos show the view through polarized sunglasses whose polarizing axes are aligned at 0 degree. So if it is 0 degree, you can see through that in the overlapping region, but if it is 90 degree, you cannot see through that. This is matched polarites, this is crossed polarites. So when phi is equal to 90 degree, there is angle between them is 90 degree, then resultant intensity is 0. That means path axes are perpendicular to each other. Then coming to the next concept, that is polarization by scattering. So we know that blue color of sky, scattering of light by atmospheric molecules. So if the blue sky is observed through a polaroid and the polaroid is rotated about the incident ray direction, then the intensity of light varies between maximum and minimum. So that means the light scattered by atmosphere should be partially polarized. Sunlight scattered by molecules of atmosphere should be partially polarized. Now, to understand the mechanism of polarization of light due to scattering, we can consider one particular molecule. Let us say there is one molecule, one atmospheric molecule here. So this is incident sunlight. Sunlight is incidented on this. So incident sunlight is unpolarized. So unpolarized sunlight is incident on this particular molecule. Now this molecule is set into vibration according to electric field. So it will vibrate in this direction also. It will vibrate in dot direction also. That means perpendicular to plane of board. So in both the directions it will be set into oscillation. Now the dot component of electric field results in the vibration perpendicular to plane of board. Arrow component, it will make make the molecule vibrate in the direction along the arrow, that is in the plane of board. Now if the observer A observes it, he will see the light due to, that is the oscillating molecule will emit electromagnetic waves. See, scattering is after all the process of absorption and re-emission. So this molecule will absorb all the energy that is incidented. Now it will emit in a direction perpendicular to direction of vibration. That means if the molecule is vibrating this way, it will emit light in this direction, not along the direction of vibration, not in this direction. So when you observe from A, these arrow components are not seen, only dot components are seen because this is the direction which is perpendicular to dot, not perpendicular to arrow. But if you observe from this side, you will see both arrow and dot. If you observe from this side, you will see only dot. Suppose if you are observing from the direction perpendicular to plane of board, then you will be able to see only arrow vibrations but not dot vibrations, because any molecule oscillating will emit electromagnetic rays in the direction perpendicular to the direction of vibration. So if you observe from here, you will see unpolarized light. If you observe from here, you will see fully polarized light. If you observe from here, you will see polarized light. If you observe from here or here, you will see only partially polarized light. So in a direction perpendicular to the incident ray direction, you will see plane polarized light. In any other direction, you will see partially polarized light. This is how one can understand the phenomena of polarization by scattering. So now we'll move on to problems. Two crossed Nichols, you can consider them to be polarized. Nicol prism perform the same function as that of polarized. A and B are placed in the path of a beam of unpolarized light. There are two polarized A and B. So they are in the path of unpolarized light. A third Nicol C is placed between these two Nichols such that its principal section is at an angle of 45 degree with that of A. Principal section means you can take it to be as pass axis. What percentage of intensity of incident unpolarized light emerges from C and then B? So they have given A and B are crossed. So now let us say this is A and this is B. Now let us take this as reference. This is at 0 degree. Cross means this must be at 90 degree. Now the third one is introduced. Already A and B are crossed. Third one is introduced in between. So this is making 45 degree with that of A. So if this is 45 degree, then this is also 45 degree. That's the advantage in the problem. If I naught is the incident intensity, then what comes out? This is unpolarized. So you'll get I naught by 2 from Malus law. Now this I naught by 2 is incident on this. So angle between this and this is 45 degree. So what comes out here through C, I'll call it as IC. IC is equal to incident intensity is I naught by 2 cos square 45 degree. From Malus law, it is cos square theta. So it will be I naught by 2 cos 45 is 1 by root 2, square is 1 by 2. So that will be I naught by 4. So this is intensity of light that is coming out of C. Now here what we get is IC is equal to I naught by 4. Now what is this IB? So IB should be equal to IC cos square 45. Notice one thing, we have to take angle between this and this. 45 degree, 90 degree difference is 45 degree. So that should be I naught by 4 cos square 45 is again 1 by 2. So it will be I naught by 8. Now what they have asked for is what percentage of intensity of incident unpolarized light emerges from C and B. See, incident light has intensity I naught. Now it is I naught by 4 means this is 25% of incident intensity, and this one is 12.5% of incident intensity I naught. So this is IB. So IB is 12.5%, IC is 25% of incident intensity. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Critical angle of certain medium is sine inverse of 3 by 5. What is the polarizing angle of the medium? So critical angle is given, it is sine inverse of 3 by 5. This means sine C is equal to 3 by 5. We know that sine C is 1 by n, refractive index, that is 3 by 5, thus sin C is equal to 1 by n. Now n is equal to 5 by 3. Got n is equal to 5 by 3. Now from Brewster's law, n is equal to tan of theta p, polarizing angle, or polarizing angle is also called as Brewster's angle. So theta p should be equal to tan inverse of n. So that should be tan inverse of n is what? 5 by 3. This should be polarizing angle. Keep it like this only. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A beam of polarized light makes an angle 60 degree with the axis of polarized sheet. So considering polarized light, angle is 60 degree with the polarized light. How much is the intensity of light transmitted through the sheet? So this is the sheet. With respect to state of polarization of the incident beam, that is I naught, this makes an angle 60 degree. Now what is the output intensity? This is what you have to find. We know that I is equal to I naught cos square theta for polarized light. So it should be I naught into cos square 60 degree, that is I naught into cos 60 is half, so it should be half square. So that will become I naught by 4. So the intensity of light coming out of the polarized is I naught by 4. If I naught is the incident intensity, then I naught by 4 is the intensity of light that is coming out. So that completes the topic polarization and also the chapter wave optics. Thank you.